The new Apple TV Plus series Physical is creating quite the buzz. We're talking the 80s, that fitness craze. Film critic Pam Powell talks to the lead actors in the making of the series.
Thank you so much for joining me to talk about your new series Physical, premiering on Apple TV Plus on June 18th. Rory, I would like to start with you. Tell me about your character, and when you read the script, what did you think about this whole series?
I loved it. Even immediately the first few pages of just the pilot, you're like, oh, this is different. This is something that's it's got its dark moments, and it's also very funny. And so I was drawn to that. I also had done a lot of comedy up to now, and I was very drawn to the fact that there would be moments in this series that I wasn't necessarily being asked to be funny and go to a different place, and sometimes a very dark place as an actor that I haven't been to before. So all of that jumped out at me as something very exciting to try to tackle. And I think the character Danny is the perfect outlet because he doesn't have any redeeming qualities, but there he is, believing in himself for some reason and completely absent to his wife's needs. So yeah.
Rose, I would like to ask you about your character. You've played so many different types of characters in your career, but this is a very unique one. Tell our audience a little bit about your character of Sheila and what you hope they'll take away from it.
Annie Wiseman, our creator, our showrunner, the writer of it's a deeply personal story for Annie. She grew up in 1980s in San Diego. She was always very candid with me about her experiences. And I read the pilot and was just arrested, like the same as Rory was describing, by this specific story. You don't see these. We meet Sheila and she's at a breaking point. She has a horrific illness and addiction that she can't break. She's ambivalent about motherhood. She's in an incredibly dysfunctional marriage, and she's just sinking and finds an unlikely way out through aerobics. And you sort of expect the show to be just like a nostalgic kind of look back, but it's actually a lot more. It's very uncomfortable at times. It is very tense. It's very funny. And it depicts things that I hadn't really seen before on screen depicted that way. And I think as a result, it's quite moving and uncomfortable and emotional.
And real. To me, it felt very, very real.
Yeah.
Rory, as a male, from your perspective, is there anything that you gained insight with by taking on this role and seeing how Sheila develops and empowers herself throughout the series?
Yeah, I think I'm 40. Any man my age, it would have to be completely absent-minded to not know the reality of the struggles Sheila's facing. It's not something you read or see in the episodes and think, well, this is wildly fictional. This isn't how things are. At this point in society, we're very well aware of the pressures that women face in their own homes, but also at work, the inequality and social dynamics. And yeah, I think to see it played out and to be a part of the storytelling of it is quite powerful, because it's the where you hope the story goes and where you hope someone like Sheila ends up, and what you hope she overcomes. I'm that same person cheering for her. So to get to be a part of the process of making that story and putting it out there, it's kind of eye-opening, because it could be potentially the closest that I can get to really getting into that space is being in a scene with Rose, who's portraying a character with these struggles, at least on screen. So, yeah.
Rose, real quickly, I know our time is running out. Tell me a little bit about having that voiceover, those thoughts, and having those reactions within your character.
It was always the blueprint for the show, within the dialogue, and I didn't quite know how it would play out, literally on set in terms of technically, but I also knew it would evolve, because it's a new show, so it had to be edited and find its texture and tone, and it was, in a way, the last piece of the puzzle, and it changed a lot as the show came together. And I'm one of those rare actors who, I love post-production, and I like fixing things later if I can, and so Annie and I, really went there in the post, and and she doesn't pull any punches, and she's very funny. She's like she sort of presents as the sweetest, kindest, and she is all those things, but she also is just incredibly acerbic and witty, and it's incredibly truthful, the voiceover, and the interesting when it finally turns into Sheila can harness it to do something motivating instead of destructive.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much. Wonderful series. Thank you.